Hello, my name is LILIS. I'm a graduate student in Cultural Studies Literature Department, Faculty of Humanities, Universitas Indonesia. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'd like to presenting my research paper with title Consuming Local Culture: How Youth Articulate Ancient Manuscript Tradition in Banyuwangi. Yet cultural practices play an important role to articulate a local culture phenomenon in the global context. Yet cultures have a significant place in the local to communicate and associate what is distinctive about the local culture. Barker argues that the category of youth is not universal of biology, but a changing social and cultural construct that appeared at a particular moment under definite conditions. One of the local cultures in Banyuwangi, as Java, Indonesia, is Mocoan Lontar Yusuf. It's one of the tradition based on ancient manuscript from Osing Banyuwangi that has been preserved from generation to generation. This is the tradition of reading ancient manuscript routinely and rituals conducted by Osing ethnic group considered as the natives of Banyuwangi. In 2018, the local community formed Mocho and Lontar Yusuf Millennial as youth cultural practices. They revived the tradition that once was exclusively practiced by manuscript owners, be- became more accessible to more Osing people, especially youth. Its importance in Osing Banyuwangi spiritual life from for generation has been enlisted in UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage in August 2019. This paper want to know how youth articulate local culture as an impact of consumption production activities related to local cultural heritage. And this paper also want to see how local culture is being developed and practiced by its local youth with a tie to its heritage. This qualitative research with cultural studies approach and critical discourse analysis on the youth cultural practices concerning presenting a new cultural product, namely Majuan Voluntarios of Millennial. This research also used key concept of SES method proposed by Chen Guanxing to engage with the local context of Majuan Voluntarios of will reveal to uncover alternative possibilities through local heritage. Okay. Mm, the idea of Asia has been constructed by Western powers, histories, and influences through colonization, imperialization, and Cold War. The ASEAN nation was created in response to the West as an opposing entity, a system of reference and object from which to learn a point of measurement, a goal to catch up with, an intimate enemy, and sometimes an alibi for serious discussion and action. Guan Xingchen argue that critical intellectual work first and foremost has to transform this problematic condition, transcend the structural limitation, and uncover alternative possibilities. Okay, youth cultural practice is greatly influenced and articulated local culture by giving access to cultural product, integration of different cultural values, and building community-based locality. Jalan Tarian Banyuwangi as ritual is a narrative poem containing the life story of the Islamic prophet Yusuf, known as Yusuf in Japanese. It's sung with an instrumental accompaniment from a paper manuscript in Perso-Arabic script. It teaches about reality, humanity, and the consequences of closeness to God. Goethe's thesis of Japanese religious syncretism assumes that Japanese people choose to follow an indigenous belief inherited from their ancestors rather than fully convert to an alien, no imported from a distant places. So they use this mean as an instructional form in several ritual acts like Macaan in Khmer. There are a reason why youth consumes local culture such as Macaan it's an impact of globalization. As we know that globalization is integration among the people, government, and companies of different countries. The term local culture is commonly used to characterize the experience of everyday life in specific identifiable localities. As youth cultural practice, which are non-Tariusub millennial, played important role in Banyuwangi to develop and preserving cultural heritage in Banyuwangi. In practice, the member of Mochano Tariusub millennial not just a sapu, but it consists of various kinds of people in Banyuwangi. The constructing local culture through Mochano Tariusub. One is consumption of local culture through Mochano Tariusub. There are significant differences regarding Mujal Yusuf as ritual and youth cultural practices. And the second is articulation. Articulation of ancient manuscript tradition into youth cultural practices. Articulation has an important position in cultural studies theories because of its understanding as follows. Meaning is always the result of the act of articulation. This process is called articulation because meanings must be expressed but are always expressed in context, historical moment, and specific discourses. The expression is always connected and conditioned by context. Besides, to articulate an ancient manuscript tradition in Banyuwangi, youth as agent plays important role in existing the old or ancient tradition in the local community with building community-based locality, namely Mocho Arlandares of Millennial. Okay. This is the differences between Mocho Arlandares as tradition with Mocho Arlandares millennial as youth cultural practices. Can be concluded that youth cultural practice Pacaran Periusuk Millennial played important role in Banyuwangi to develop and preserving cultural heritage in Banyuwangi. Using ACS method proposed by Chen Kwan Sing to engage with the local context of Pacaran Periusuk will reveal to uncover alternative possibilities for local heritage. In practices, the member of Pacaran Periusuk Millennial not just a support but it consists of various kind of people in Banyuwangi, not just Osing but also people from outside and also women. And this is the differences between Mojano Tarisop as ritual and Mojano Tarisop millennial as community-based locality. And that previously had sacred value, now it turned into educational value, especially for the young people as an agency to preserving cultural heritage in Banyuwangi.